The Roman Curia also used Giacomo as a convenient representative, such as in February of 1581, when envoys arrived in Rome from Tsar Ivan IV, Ivan the Terrible, the schismatic Grand Prince of Moscow, and they had come to seek friendship. No Russian embassy or even messenger had been seen in the city for the previous half-century. So it was Giacomo who gave them entertainment at his quarters, which was then, believe it or not, the Colonna Palace. Had the Pope or the cardinals done it themselves, it would rankle the Catholic King of Poland. I had mentioned how Giacomo had been made Duke of Sora. Well, his jurisdiction at Sora, which was in the state of Naples, this opened the way for the Boncompagni family to be registered with the nobility of that kingdom, more specifically in the patriciate of the city's Sedile di Capuana. But a precise date for this honor had been lacking until the recent emergence of a spectacular document of the 15th of March, 1581, in the Boncompagni Ludovisi family archives in their Casino Aurora in Rome. Well, first, a quick word of explanation about the sedili of Naples. These are quite literally seats, and they functioned as the city's main administrative units from the mid-13th century to the year 1800. In the developed period, there were 6 in all, with nobles filling 5 of the seats, and the ordinary citizenry the remaining 1. Now, the reason why the representatives of the sedili, or one reason why they were important, is that it was they who designated the magistrates of the Tribunal of San Lorenzo, the Magistrati del Tribunale di San Lorenzo, who had a wide variety of civil responsibilities in Naples until the institution was abolished again in the year 1800. The patrician members of the former sedili now became, instead of parliamentarians, merely the city's highest social class, with inscription into the city's Book of Gold. The name of the Sedile di Capuana, well, it takes its name from Naples' Porta Capuana, its Capuan gate, or rather the quarter nearby this ancient gate, which was positioned at the north end of the city's historic center. Now, this newly recovered document from the 15th of March, 1581, it's written in Latin on vellum. It shows that patrician status at Naples came to Giacomo a full 15 months after his acquisition of Sora, but before Giacomo had taken joint command of anti-brigand operations in the Papal States. In this, he was replacing his wife's uncle, Cardinal Alessandro Sforza, and this cardinal had died suddenly on the 16th of May, 1581. Well, back to the Naples document. Now, the document opens with a salutation to Giacomo by the 6 chiefs and other patricians of the Sedile di Capuana of the year. Just 4 Neapolitan families are represented, holding the top 6 positions. It's a rather tight aristocratic ring. Well, the Neapolitan authors of the 1581 grant of the patriciate to Giacomo Boncompagni also make honorific mention of several other figures in their decree. Twice named is Philip II of Spain, who is also King of Naples, as it turns out, from 1554 to 1598. In this document, there is also what might be a pointed reference to the Spanish viceroy of Naples in this period. The document calls him a quite serious individual and remarkable for his intellectual integrity, and goes on to say that he assured us that since the magnitude of the virtues of so great a man captivated us, we were duty-bound to make him a patrician. In other words, it seems the viceroy told the patricians of the Sedile di Capuana to admit Giacomo to their number. Finally, the Neapolitans say that in conferring the patriciate, they want simultaneously to honor Giacomo and also to respond in some way to the benefits conferred by Pope Gregory XIII, who is not specifically named as Giacomo's father. The language of the decree is largely formulaic, but it's enlivened by some references to classical literature, in particular Virgil's Georgics, and also classical history. But indeed, the authors of the decree express the hope that Giacomo Boncompagni, having landed in this exceedingly pleasant part of Italy, might spend his life there, as did the 1st century BC Roman commanders Lucius Licinius Lucullus, Pompey the Great, and Lucius Cornelius Sulla. Well, speaking as a Roman historian of the Republic, I can tell you this is an odd trio to invoke. Lucullus, to start with, spent part of his final years at his villa near Naples, where he became a byword for hedonistic banqueting. As for Pompey the Great, well, his most famous association with this part of the world, with Campania, was that he fell dangerously ill there with fever in 50 BC, recovering only after extensive public prayers on his behalf. Finally, Sulla, after stepping down from his dictatorship in 80 BC, he retired to a villa near Puteoli in Campania, but there he died, by some accounts, not all that peacefully, after hardly more than a year. When one adds up these ambivalent references with the fact that patrician status came to Giacomo Boncompagni a full 15 months after he had become Duke of Sora, and then was voted precisely on the Ides of March 1581, one wonders whether the powerful papal son would have suspected the Neapolitan's enthusiasm. Giacomo was an exceptionally learned man, with a deep interest in the sciences, arts, and humanities alike, as we've seen. Well, that very year, the famed humanist and groundbreaking classical scholar, Carlo Sigonio, was in fact living with Giacomo in Rome and writing the history of the Christian church that Pope Gregory XIII had commissioned from him as part of the artillery of the Counter-Reformation. Numerous authors dedicated their printed works to Giacomo Boncompagni, such as Sigonio, who dedicated to Giacomo his De Regno Italiae on the Kingdom of Italy of 1591. On the death of Sigonio, Giacomo purchased his library. I find it interesting that, following the death of his father, Pope Gregory XIII, the personal position of Giacomo Boncompagni was not substantially diminished. It wasn't diminished in the interregnum that followed, or by successive pontificates, that of Sixtus V, or Gregory XIV, who had been appointed cardinal by Giacomo's father, or by Clement VIII. The death of Gregory XIII came on the 10th of April 1585, shortly after father and son had a peaceful dinner together, and it was to Giacomo Boncompagni that the College of Cardinals turned to entrust him with the task of providing for the maintenance of peace in the Papal States during the sede vacante, the period of vacancy, which was always extremely dangerous in this era. And the College of Cardinals granted Giacomo a small army of 2,000 infantry and 4 companies of light cavalry to do the job, which goes to show the perceptions of the possible dangers. The new pope was Sixtus V Peretti, and he confirmed Giacomo Boncompagni as governor-general of the papal militia in 1585. Afterwards, he gave him further honors, governorship of Fermo in the Marche region of Italy. This was near the center where the Boncompagni had settled, in Viso and Foligno. And, however, his uncle Boncompagno Boncompagni succeeded Giacomo in the governorship of Fermo later that year, in June of 1585. But Giacomo Boncompagni soon was to leave the political life of the Pontifical States. In fact, he ended up abandoning Rome, and he divided his time between his fiefdom of Sora, where there actually had been disturbances, and also Milan, where he remained on the secret council and indeed kept all the military and civil prerogatives which Philip II, King of Spain, had handed him. Instead, Giacomo Boncompagni devoted the rest of his life to artistic and literary patronage, and also, especially, as we've seen, to the historiographical glorification of his father. An epilogue. With the Duchy of Sora came to Giacomo a spectacular early 11th century castle at Isola del Liri, near Frosinone, southeast of Rome. The Della Rovere previously had this as a residence from the year 1472 to 1579, when it came to Giacomo. The castle stands on a massive block of travertine that dams the river Liri, and it creates 2 waterfalls that are a full 27 meters, 100 feet in height. There's one on each side, and they're apparently the only waterfalls in the world to fall into a town. At Isola Liri, there were born at least 2 of the 12 children that Giacomo Boncompagni and his wife Costanza Sforza had together, Giulia, a daughter, and Ugo, born in 1587, and as we've seen, died at age 15. Giacomo Boncompagni and his wife turned the castle at Isola del Liri into a luxurious palace, with exquisite frescoes and stuccos in the interior sala, depicting variously biblical scenes. Boncompagni estates, and even local ancient notables such as Gaius Marius and Cicero. Well, it was at Isola delle Liri where Giacomo Boncompagni died on the 26th of June, 1612. As it happens, the castle at Isola Liri would remain in the family's possession for more than 200 years, until 1796, when Antonio Boncompagni Ludovisi sold it to Ferdinand I of the Two Sicilies, perhaps just as well. 3 years later, tragedy struck. French troops slaughtered the entire population of the town, 533 in all, on the 12th of May, 1799.